Hello and welcome to this week's issue of BRN United. This issue really marks the beginning of the third month that we've been trying to raise our level of communication and sharing with you and with your church members through the BRN United. Today I want to take a few minutes to talk about what I think is one of the most critical issues that we face with our churches. And at the end, I want to invite you to participate in working with us in finding ways to provide this service in a greater way. There's probably no more critical time in the life of a church than when it is without a pastor. This transition time in the life of a church is absolutely critical. And we, with the Baptist Resource Network, we try to help service churches during that time in a variety of ways. We provide training for the pastor search committee. We try to provide an interim pastor during that time, and as well as consulting and coaching along the way. But let me talk a little bit about this role of interim pastor, because sometimes I'm asked, well, where does that come from? That doesn't sound even biblical. Well, let me call to your attention in Titus chapter 1 verse 5, the instructions from the Apostle Paul to Titus. In chapter 1 verse 5, Paul said, "The reason I left you in Crete," speaking to Titus, "was to set right what was left undone, as I directed you to appoint elders in every town." Now, the context was Paul asked Paul asked Titus to be the interim pastor for the church in Crete until the new pastor, Artemas, was in place and ready to begin serving. And when you look at the life of Titus, you see that there are a number of things that he did that we look for interim pastors to do. He was a diagnostician. He looked at the church in Crete and helped them to identify some of the gaps, the needs that they had that needed to be addressed in preparation for a new pastor. They had a shortage of leaders. They had some false teachers. There was a struggle for power. There was a series of conflicts. There was some lives of leaders that was unfruitful. He helped them navigate through that. He was a healer. There was division between the older men and the younger men, and with the older women and with the younger women. There was some division related to the servants, and there was even some nitpicking going on. And part of Titus's role in the church at Crete was to help them work through these issues of healing. He also was an interpreter of what was sound doctrine and what did it mean to live out the Christian life. He was a motivator for them to get on about the good works of being a Christ follower. So I think in Titus, we see a clear example of the powerful role of someone who can step in as an interim pastor. In Penn, South Jersey, we try to come alongside every church with whom we partner to try to provide for them what they need to navigate this transition. And a key part of that is providing interim pastors. The interim pastor can help them deal with the past. What are some of the things that have been left unresolved? He can help them really assess where they are as a church now. What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What are things that they need to address and to strengthen even in the midst of their transition? He helps them consider how they make decisions and how leadership functions and how it needs to function going forward. He can help them kind of reevaluate their partnerships with the state convention, with the association, with the Southern Baptist Convention, with perhaps other ministries in their community. And then the role of the interim pastor is to help prepare the church to be in the best position to then receive and love and nurture a new pastor. As I said, we want to be able to help any church in our network, any church in our family of churches that finds itself in the midst of transition, that we can offer to them an equipped, a trained interim pastor to help them navigate these transition days. Well, one of our challenges is we do not have enough skilled, trained, equipped, intentional interim pastors. So I would like to invite you to consider, and maybe there are some people you'd even want to recommend to be trained as intentional interims. On June the 28th at Pittsburgh Baptist Church, beginning at 9 in the morning, we're going to offer a training event for those that have an interest in becoming or exploring becoming intentional interim pastors. If you're interested, I want you to contact David Ludwig. That's D. Ludwig, Ludwig, at brnonline.org, or you can contact me here in Harrisburg and say, hey, David or Stan, I want to be part of that training, and we can provide further information. But it's June the 28th, starts at 9, we'll finish up about 3. And at the end of the day, we want to put in your hands some of the basic tools that you can use to serve as an intentional interim to help some of our churches in transition. You know, the Baptist Resource Network exists to foster spiritual transformation of persons and communities with the gospel. We understand that the vehicle for the carrying that forward is the local church. We exist as Baptist Resource Network to serve our local churches, and a critical way to serve a local church is when it is in the midst of transition, especially as it's between pastors. I hope that I hope you'll think about people perhaps in your church or maybe retired ministers you know that you believe would be good candidates to help service our churches as an interim. And let us know, invite them to come on June the 28th. We're looking to do some similar training events in the central part and the eastern part of our convention, but the first one's coming up in June at Pittsburgh Baptist Church in Pittsburgh. I hope you'll share that news, and I look forward to talking with you again next week on the BRN United. Thank you.